Mysterious cases have always held a powerful allure for the public, but sometimes the truths they conceal surpass even the most chilling movie plots. The story begins on a tranquil tropical island where the sunlight kisses white sandy shores and waves gently caress the feet of tourists. Yet, on a night in May 2005, an American high school student vanished without a trace, leaving her family and friends in shock and anguish. Many years later, at a hotel in South America, another young woman was found dead under horrifying circumstances. The two cases seemed unrelated, but as the clues were connected, they revealed a disturbing pattern of behavior by a mysterious figure. This is not just a story of tragic deaths, but also an accusation of the flaws in the legal system and the cruelty of humanity. The question arises, how can one individual manipulate the system and leave behind two mysterious murders? What you are about to read will take you on a breathless journey, following the trail of the person behind this shrouded mystery. The unfolding context. In May 2005, Natalie, an American high school student, traveled to Aruba with her friends to enjoy a graduation vacation. But just hours after leaving a bar with her group, she vanished without a trace. The search efforts by her family and the police yielded no results, and every lead seemed to fade away as if she had disappeared completely into the darkness of the island. The investigation quickly focused on a man who, according to witness statements, was the last person to see Natalie. However, his accounts began to show confusing contradictions, ranging from claiming he had left Natalie on the beach to changing stories about her being approached by a hotel security guard. These vague and inconsistent details made the investigation more complicated than ever. Despite the Holloway family's relentless search and intensified efforts, the absence of any physical evidence left authorities seemingly trapped in a never-ending loop. The suspect's ambiguous statements only deepened the mystery, and with each passing day, the truth remained out of reach. The next case occurred 5 years later, on May 30th, 2010, in Lima, Peru. The victim, Stephanie Flores, a young, beautiful, and talented woman, was found dead in her hotel room. The police quickly identified a suspect who was captured on security cameras entering the room with Stephanie. However, what confused the investigators was when they reviewed the footage the next morning, showing only him leaving the room, carrying a backpack, while Stephanie was already dead. The crime scene revealed the brutality of the act, with signs of a violent struggle in the room. Although the suspect quickly became the prime person of interest, he continued to provide confusing and contradictory statements, attempting to justify his actions with illogical stories. It seemed he was trying to hide the truth, but the evidence from the cameras and the crime scene told no lies. While the truth seemed close, it remained concealed behind lies and the suspect's cold attitude. Who is truly the perpetrator in this case? And will these clues lead to a hidden truth that no one has yet been able to explain? The case of Stephanie Flores is not just a story of a tragic death, but also a reminder of the dark secrets that may be concealed behind a perfect facade. Joran van der Sloot was born in 1987. Joran van der Sloot came from a wealthy and well-established family in Aruba. His father, Paulus van der Sloot, was a lawyer and a former candidate for a judgeship. Despite having a strong family background, Joran exhibited suspicious behavior from a young age, including gambling, drinking, and complicated relationships with women. Joran was intelligent and charismatic, but also notorious for being deceitful and manipulative. These traits contributed to him becoming the focal point in the cases involving Natalie Holloway and Stephanie Flores, with increasingly brutal and audacious actions. The investigation and trial. The disappearance of Natalie Holloway in May 2005 triggered a prolonged investigation that continuously captured the attention of the public and global media. Natalie's graduation trip to Aruba with her friends was supposed to be a joyful vacation, but the last night of the trip turned into an unsolved mystery. After leaving a bar with a group of friends, Natalie never returned and vanished without a trace. Despite urgent search efforts, from beaches to deep waters, all attempts were in vain. The investigation quickly focused on a man who was the last person to see Natalie. He was Joran van der Sloot, a young man with a charming appearance and confident demeanor. But what was strange was that his statements kept changing. Initially, he claimed he had left Natalie on the beach, but later altered his story, saying she was approached by a hotel security guard. The contradictions in his testimony made it impossible for investigators to verify anything. Despite ambiguous statements and strange confessions from Joran, there was no physical evidence to prove his involvement in the disappearance. This led the investigation into a deadlock, as the truth became increasingly elusive and distant. Were these stories the truth, or were they just carefully fabricated lies to cover up an undiscovered crime? 5 years later, on May 30th, 2010, exactly on the anniversary of Natalie Holloway's disappearance, a horrific murder occurred in Lima, Peru. The victim, Stephanie Flores, a promising young woman, was found dead in her hotel room. What was shocking was that security camera footage showed her entering the room with a man, but only he was seen leaving the next morning, carrying a backpack. As investigators continued to probe, they discovered that this man was Joran van der Sloot, the same name that had shocked the world in the disappearance of Natalie Holloway. Though Joran initially tried to fabricate a story about being attacked by robbers in the room, undeniable evidence, from fingerprints to bloodstains on his clothes, pointed to him as the perpetrator. After multiple changes in his statements, Joran was forced to admit that he had killed Stephanie in a panic after she discovered the connection between him and Natalie's disappearance. Even more chilling was the eerie coincidence between the two cases. Both victims were young women, and both disappeared on the exact same date, May 30, 5 years apart. The case of Stephanie not only brought a killer to justice, but also reopened questions about the disappearance of Natalie Holloway, making many wonder if the secrets behind Stephanie's death could hold the key to solving the 2005 case. These horrifying details shocked the public and deepened the curiosity about the hidden truth behind the ambiguous testimonies and the cold demeanor of Joran van der Sloot.
I take this and I smash her head in with it completely.
The trial of Joran van der Sloot was not merely a legal proceeding, but a stage where justice confronted a cunning and dangerous criminal. What was revealed in court sent chills across the world. In the courtroom, Joran appeared calm and composed, but his eyes betrayed a defiant glare. Under the weight of overwhelming evidence, from security cameras and fingerprints to DNA on Stephanie Flores' body, Joran had no way out. He admitted to killing Stephanie in a fit of rage after she discovered information on his laptop related to the Natalie Holloway case. Yet, as always, his testimony was riddled with contradictions and self-serving justifications. Joran blamed circumstances, alcohol, and even the victim herself, but none of his excuses could quell the public's outrage. In court, chilling details of how he murdered Stephanie, using force and deliberately attempting to clean the crime scene, were laid bare, casting a heavy and haunting atmosphere over the proceedings.
Plus, she asked to go back to her hotel, but I was just trying to get dropped off a little bit further away from her hotel, so we could walk back to her hotel, and I might still get a chance to be with her.
Okay.
That's what I was hoping for.
Okay. So what happens?
Deepak drops me off at a place a little right of the Marriott hotel known as the Fisherman's Huts. This place is not so far from, the next hotel is the Marriott, and the next hotel after that is another Marriott, which is a timeshare, and then it's the Holiday Inn. We walk along the beach.
Do Deepak and Satish get out? Come with you? What happens to them?
Deepak and Satish leave. They leave. They go back to their home. I assume they go back to their home. They get in their car and they leave. I'm actually with Natalie walking along the beach. I find a space before we get to the Marriott hotel, where I lay her down. We lay down together in the sand, and we start kissing each other. I get her to kiss me again. We start kissing each other, and I start feeling her up again, and she tells me no. She tells me she doesn't want me to feel her up. I insist. I keep feeling her up either way, and she knees me. She ends up kneeing me in the crotch. When she knees me in the crotch, I get up on the beach and I kick her extremely hard in the face. Yeah, she's laying down unconscious, possibly even dead, but definitely unconscious. And I see right next to her there's a huge cinder block laying on the beach.
When you say cinder block, looking at the walls of this place, is it like those?
The exact same cinder blocks. I see a huge cinder block laying on the beach. I take this and I smash her head in with it completely. Her face basically, collapses in. Even though it's dark, I can see her face is collapsed in. Afterwards, I don't exactly know what. I'm scared. I don't know what to do, and I decide to take her and to put her into the ocean. So I grab her and I half pull and half walk with her into the ocean. I push her off. I walk up to about my knees into the ocean, and I push her off into the sea. After that, I get out. I walk home.
In a dramatic turn of events, Joran was extradited to the United States to face charges of extorting Natalie Holloway's family. He had demanded a large sum of money in exchange for revealing the location of Natalie's remains, but it was all a cruel scam. The trial in the US, closely followed by the media and public, became an opportunity for the Holloway family to reclaim a measure of justice after nearly 2 decades of anguish.
Vandersloot threatened to kill the warden of the prison where he had been serving a 28-year term for the 2010 murder of a 21-year-old Peruvian woman.
What was most terrifying was Joran's cold demeanor. Instead of expressing remorse, he appeared indifferent and even smirked at times while hearing the charges against him. This brazenness only reinforced the image of a remorseless criminal. Although he was sentenced to 28 years in prison in Peru for the murder of Stephanie Flores, his story was far from over.
The pain that we're feeling will never go away.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments, and the information you are going to hear in this hour, we've been waiting 18 years for. 18 years for an answer to the mystery of what happened to Natalie Holloway. So let's go back, 2005. Natalie Holloway goes to Aruba. It's a class trip. It's supposed to be a fun trip to Aruba. A way to celebrate the end of high school with friends. Sunshine, going out, meeting people, doing what kids do, right? It was supposed to be fun. It was supposed to just be fun. It turned into something completely different. Actually turned into the nation's biggest true crime mystery ever. And when I say nation, I mean Aruba. It was the biggest they'll ever have. And at the time, it was the biggest right here in the United States of America as well, as everyone wanted to know what happened to Natalie and who was responsible. And there were rumors and stories and conjecture and journalists and investigators all over that island trying to dig up any information, any evidence on the case, and then it just lingered. But all through, one person was always a suspect, Joran Vandersloot, always a suspect. And, quietly, I think everyone said, yeah, he did it. But the question was like, what exactly happened and what did he do with Natalie? right? I think all along, as a suspect, everyone believed this was the guy. Then when he committed another murder, it became even more obvious that this was the guy. So today, he's in the United States of America because of the extortion charges where he extorted money from Natalie's mother, saying, "Yeah, I'll tell you what happened and I'll tell you where you can find her if you give me this money." Well, he got the money and he gave bogus information, got charged with extortion. He's in Peru. Peru extradited him here to the United States. So today was all about him pleading guilty to the extortion charges, but as a condition of all of that, answering those questions for Natalie's family. And today, I hope, was some level of justice for Beth Holloway. Some level of justice. I never use the closure word. You know, that doesn't happen. But for victims, if you don't have a trial, at least an answer, what happened, who's responsible, so I can at least turn the page on this. And I think that's the most that we can hope for. But it took a long time to get here. A long, long time. So let's take a listen to what happened today. It was inside a federal courtroom, so there are no cameras permitted inside there. But when it was over, Natalie's mom came out with some others and they spoke.
Today, I can tell you with certainty that after 18 years, Natalie's case is solved. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. It's over. Joran van der Sloot is no longer the suspect in my daughter's murder. He is the killer. In the course of his felony prosecution, here for extortion and wire fraud indictment, he gave a proffer in which he finally confessed that he killed Natalie. He described when and how he killed her, and he said that after killing her on the beach in Aruba, he put her into the water, and that was the last that he ever saw her. That was all verified by a comprehensive and conclusive polygraph test. Even with this confession, though, he can't be tried here for Natalie's murder. But I'm satisfied knowing that he did it alone, and he disposed of her alone. I won't give you the details of his brutal confession. Those will be forthcoming when the proffer is made public. You will also have details of the plea agreement which was reached, his sentence of the extortion, and the wire fraud will run concurrently with a sentence in Peru for killing Stephanie Flores. And that's fine with me. Thanks to a lot of very smart and dedicated people here, I got the answer I've been searching for the past 18 years. Joran van der Sloot's confession means we have finally reached the end of our never-ending nightmare. And for me, reaching the end of the nightmare, being over is better than closure. It's been 18 years since Natalie disappeared, and Natalie would be 36 years old today. I still miss her every day. It's been a very long and painful journey, but we finally got the answers we've been searching for all these years. We finally, today, we got justice for Natalie. So thank you all so very much and being supportive of us in our long 18-year journey. Thank you.
Amazing strength, that family, through all these years, but able to smile today. And that's good news. That's good news. Everything she said right there, talking about getting some sense of justice. And I say it all the time for victims' families when we cover trials here on Court TV. If the jury comes back and says not guilty, the victims are left empty. Like, I didn't even get justice. I didn't get the answer. But today she did get the answer. And Natalie's family got the answer. Okay, let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, who is there and is joining us live from outside the courthouse in Birmingham, Alabama. Chanley, great to see you. I want to begin speaking about the family here, and let's start with Beth and Natalie. This relationship, this mother trying so desperately to get justice for her daughter. Incredible strength there, and understand you got to speak with her as well.
I did, Vinny. You're right. Beth Holloway is an inspiring tower of strength, grace, and determination. It was an honor to meet her in person and to sit down with her after she learned what she'd been fighting to hear for 18 years. She told me, Vinny, that she's pleased with the plea agreement that prosecutors were able to reach with Vandersloot's defense, and she believes his confession. But she says, this is over for her. Let's take a listen.
It's over. The never-ending nightmare is over, and for me, it's better than closure. And everybody has their own words that they use, but that is mine. Over, to me, is better than closure. That's my nightmare, and it was a never-ending nightmare. I was never going to get out of the weeds. I was never going to get out of the rabbit holes, but it's over now. It's done. I feel pretty victorious right now. I'm feeling like we've accomplished something that we set out for 18 years ago. So it's a huge weight is lifted. So it feels great. It's over now. Her murder has been solved. Joran Vandersloot is no longer the suspect in Natalie's disappearance. Joran Vandersloot is the murderer. He's the murderer. He's the killer of Natalie. So that is now giving me that never-ending nightmare being over. I think right now what I miss most about her is she would be married. She would be a doctor by now, I have no doubt. She would have children.
And Vinny, I was also able to speak with Natalie's brother, Matt Holloway. In one of his rare camera interviews, he had some strong sentiments to say about Joran Vandersloot. Let's watch. Did you believe what he had to say?
I personally didn't. He's been such a liar his whole life. That's all he is. It's just a psychopathic liar. So I take it lightly. I believe he can, his confession, that's what we've been hoping for so long, for him to actually admit that. All the confessions that he made, did it all for himself, and he forgot about one thing, and that was me. So he will be seeing me again when he thinks he's a free man.
Vinny, he wanted to say that he might get in trouble, but Joran, he forgot one thing today. That's when he's free in 22 years. Matt's going to be in Peru waiting on him.
Wow. All right, so let's get to some of the specifics here about what did Joran say in this confession of his.
He was graphic and revealing. We were able to learn tidbits during the hearing, Vinny, from Ms. Holloway and the judge, but we received an actual transcript of the proffer that took place 3 weeks ago with the FBI, with the prosecutors, with the Holloway family watching in real time. Here's a portion of what Joran told the authorities about Natalie's murder. He said, I lay her down. We laid down together in the sand. This is after they left that bar. We start kissing each other. I get her to kiss me again. We start kissing each other. He says, I start feeling her up. She tells me no. She tells me she doesn't want me to fill her up. He insists. He says, I keep filling her up either way. Then Natalie knees him in the crotch, he says. So he gets up and kicks her extremely hard in the face. She's laying down, he says, unconscious, possibly even dead at that point. Right next to her, there's a huge cinder block laying on the beach. He says he sees that cinder block and he takes it and smashes her head in with it completely. He goes on to reveal that her face was basically collapsed in. And even though it was dark there on the beach, he could tell that she was dead. So he says afterwards, I don't know exactly, but he's scared, he says. He then decides to put her in the ocean. So I grab her and I half pull and half walk with her into the ocean and push her off, he says. Now, when I asked Beth Holloway about this confession and hearing it for the first time, Vinny, she said, of course, it was painful to watch, but she was proud that her daughter fought back.
That was the first thing that struck me as well, that she fought back. What was it like inside that courtroom?
Vinny, I've never really felt anything like it. I've been working for Court TV for almost 5 years in dozens of courtrooms. This was a moment where, first, it's a packed house, of course, media from all over the world. 5 rows of family and friends of the Holloway family, including Beth, Natalie's father, her brother. Jeroen Vandersloot surprised everyone, entering 10 minutes early before the actual hearing started. And he walks in, he's in his jailhouse orange, Shelby County Jail, big letters on the back of his garb. He's confident. His shoulders are back, his chest is out, his chin is up. He smiles, he greets his attorneys, he shakes their hands, whispers back and forth, and then sits down. He's tall, he towers above all of his defense team there inside the courtroom. He had some stubble, like he was not freshly shaven in the face, had gained some weight, of course. But he did choose to speak and give a statement. He spoke with an accent, as you know, and he had an opportunity to say something. He stood, Vinny, and he apologized. Here's a paraphrase of what he said shortly in the courtroom. He did glance over to the Holloway family before he started talking, and he started by saying, "I want to take this chance to apologize to the Holloway family and to my own family." He went on to say that he hopes this statement provides his proffer, meaning his confession, provides some closure to the Holloway family. And he went on to say that he's no longer the same person, Vinny, that he was 18 years ago, that he had given his heart to Jesus Christ. And his voice waned off a bit. I couldn't hear what else he said because those around me, I was sitting by family and friends of Natalie Holloway, they started rumbling in their seats, rolling their eyes at each other. They couldn't believe what he was saying, that he had found God and he was a new man today. But he wasn't the only one to speak. Of course, Beth Holloway took the opportunity to deliver her victim impact statement in front of the courtroom, Vinny. She stood, she walked up to the podium, but paused right in front of Jeroen and looked directly at him in the eye for about a second or two, and then turned towards the judge and read her statement. Here's part, and this is paraphrasing what she told the judge and Jeroen. She spoke directly to him. She says, "Jeroen, for 18 years, you denied, you lied to us about killing my daughter. Your lies and fake news caused indescribable pain and grief. Now you're guilty for trying to sell me her remains." And she would repeat, "You are a killer. You didn't get what you wanted from my daughter, your sexual satisfaction, so you brutally killed her." She went on to say that we do have one thing in common, Jeroen. You have a daughter. I had one, but mine is no longer here. She said, "What if your daughter was Natalie? What if you were me and someone bludgeoned her body and then got off on porn? What would you want to do to that person?" And Beth said, "I would want to kill him." Vinny, I couldn't see the front of Jeroen's face sitting in the gallery, but I could see his profile in the back of him. And he would, when Beth mentioned his daughter, that's when I noticed him grab his orange shirt and he would wipe his face. He did it at least twice while she was talking. But my standout moment from her statement in the courtroom was when she suddenly paused what she was saying, turned to him and said, "By the way, you look like hell. And I don't know how you're gonna get through this." And the courtroom erupted. All the supporters laughed and agreed with her.
Amazing day. Amazing day. Everyone is so glad. We are so glad that Natalie's mom had that moment, because afterwards we saw that smile. So it's some level of this weight has been lifted from her and from her family. Yes. Although, as her brother said, as Natalie's brother said, he doesn't forget. So let's talk about this plea and what it means. So how much time, where is he going to serve it? And now that he's confessed to the murder, will he face charges for that murder?
It doesn't look like it. And Beth Holloway says she's okay if he never does. This is what was agreed to between the prosecution and the defense. They agreed, of course, if he was truthful, if he passed this polygraph and provided this information to the Holloway family, that he would serve 20 years for his extortion and wire fraud charges, which is 240 months. That is the maximum, and it departs upwardly from the federal statute guidelines for sentencing here. So the judge mentioned that several times. But again, Euron agreed to that because it's going to run concurrent with his Peruvian term. He's already serving confessed murder of Stephanie Flores for 28 years there in Peru. So he has 22 more years to serve for both this and the murder of Stephanie Flores in Peru. When he's released, he will have 3 years of supervised probation. He has to pay back Beth Holloway that $25,000+ that she sent him in 2010, hoping he would be truthful then when he lied to her. Another condition, he agreed that he wouldn't appeal this, but also the prosecution, the government here, can never use what he confessed to against him, Benny.
Okay. Well, he couldn't be charged with murder in the United States anyway. It didn't happen here. They don't have jurisdiction. Right. Shanley Painter, amazing reporting today. So glad you were there. Court TV legal correspondent. We will speak again. Thanks so much. All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to dive into that statement, that confession that Euron made. Does it make sense? Does it add up? Was he telling the truth? Plus, coming up next hour.
The cases involving Joran van der Sloot are not just tragedies for two grieving families, but also a stark reflection of the weaknesses and alarming gaps in the international legal system. From the inability to resolve the disappearance of Natalie Holloway to the trial for the brutal murder of Stephanie Flores, the world has witnessed the challenges investigators face when the truth is obscured by lies, scant evidence, and cunning tactics. The impact on the victims and families is a heart-wrenching tale of irreparable loss. The Holloway family has endured nearly 2 decades of torment, plagued by unanswered questions, while the Flores family has faced the harsh reality that the man who took their daughter's life was a criminal who had previously evaded justice. Their relentless fight for justice is not just a personal journey, but has become a symbol of unwavering determination in the face of darkness. The societal impact extends far beyond the borders of these two nations. This story has exposed the hidden dangers that so-called safe tourist destinations can conceal. It also highlights the lack of protective measures for young women, especially in unfamiliar and vulnerable environments. From these events, critical lessons emerge. First and foremost, international cooperation in criminal investigations and prosecutions must be strengthened, with more effective legal frameworks for handling cross-border cases. Additionally, raising awareness about personal safety, especially among young people traveling abroad, should be prioritized through education and media campaigns. Moreover, the case raises important questions about the role of media and public opinion. Public pressure can act as a double-edged sword. While it helps keep the case in the spotlight of justice, it can also create excessive pressure that hinders investigative processes. Ultimately, this is a powerful reminder that while justice may be delayed, it is never lost. The tireless efforts of the victims' families, combined with the solidarity of the international community, have turned this tragic story into a profound cautionary tale that truth and justice, no matter how challenging, will always find their way.